Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the New Age Geek channels. If you're new here, we'll build an inclusive space for people of all walks of life through the power of friendship, magic, and tabletop role-playing games. Tonight we have the Forging Fates 2-year recap. We
Seems
are
fake, but okay.
2.5-ish.
Yeah, a little over 2 years.
Over 2 years.
We are 66 episodes in, so we figure with all the new people coming in, probably a good time to give a recap of our story so far. So, I hope you'll join us tonight as we recap the adventures of the Fist of Fate and answer some questions that you guys have along the way. If you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat, and we were going to get to those as we get to them. That being said, this is going to be part 1 of 2 parts. You can...
I just lost audio on you guys again.
We're, as always, dealing with tech issues. That being said...
I'm having technical difficulties.
There we
Only
go.
on my end, though.
This is typical for us. So
Yeah.
if you are here to learn about the New Age Geeks or Forging Fates, this is perfect.
Yeah,
This is what happens.
This
So,
tracks.
welcome to the show.
All right. That being said...
Sorry, Joe.
It's good. Hey Hans, welcome to the chat. Billy F and Wildstar, welcome.
Not Hans.
Someone stole.
Hans.
What do you mean someone stole my bit? What does that even mean?
I guess the tech goblins, gremlins, what do we call them? Hit up more than just that.
Sons. Oh my god! You guys,
Take a juice.
you missed that. CC just went
just saw
warp
it.
speed and then.
I just saw it with the delay. That was hilarious, actually.
Hi, I'm CC.
That was weird. Anyways, we're back again. How's everyone doing tonight?
I'm doing.
Better than the tech.
Yeah.
I'm having a great time. This is very funny.
Okay. Well. Dom, you want to give us a quick breakdown of what people can do to support the channel as we're in our 2+ year anniversary? 66 episode anniversary? I don't know what to call this.
Oh man, I told you. I
Just-
asked you before.
Just do it
if
off
we
the
were
top of your
doing
head.
this.
Do it off the top of your head.
Oh yeah, off the cuff. I totally remember everything I usually say. No. That's why I have it written down.
Oh, do an accent. Do an accent.
You want me to try and
Wing
do
it with an accent.
and remember shit?
Yeah.
Obviously.
Well, ladies and
For what
gentlemen,
they
you
want.
get the old man. This is what they asked for. This is what they get. All right. If you want to help support the channel, we got ways of doing that financially and non-financially. You can go subscribe to all our different social media accounts, join our Discord, and really join in on the New Age Geeks. Or you can help us out financially by subscribing with Prime, gifting subscriptions, donating via bits or PayPal donations. You can go to our merch shop and purchase yourself some goodies and subscribe to our Patreon. I don't know where this accent's going, but it's going somewhere. Other than that, if you want to sponsor us as the New Age Geeks, you can reach out to us on our Instagram page. That's new_age_geeks, plural, so that you can begin those discussions. Joe, take that.
Yeah. I'm proud of you, pal. And yes, that did sound like Herbert from Family Guy. And that is
Oh, no.
that is not something to be proud of.
Listen, voice acting is a rough industry.
And if you want to become one of the New Age Geeks, you absolutely can. If you want to become a New Age Geek, all you gotta do is subscribe to our Twitch and YouTube channels and join our Discord, in which you will find moderated chats, emotes by one of our favorite geeks, Sarah.
Love you,
Hi,
Sarah.
Sarah.
She's been with us the entire way, so shout out to Sarah. And you can also find chat rooms with the cast and other members of this growing community. Remember that the best way to help us out is with engagement. So we'd greatly appreciate if you'd watch the video all the way through, like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that these platforms know to share us with everybody else. Also, speaking of engagement, we would absolutely love if you guys would clip your favorite parts of stream, whether that be the happy moments, the sad moments, the funny moments, ridiculous, whatever you want to be immortalized by Twitch clips. We highly suggest you do it. But beyond Twitch and YouTube, we also have posts going up on Twitter, on TikTok, on Instagram, and on Threads. So if you are on those platforms, make sure to follow us for more geeky goodness.
Fabulous.
That sounded so scripted.
Yeah. It sounded like.
Oh, joke's on you! I do not have anything pulled up on my screen.
Yeah. What about that, Dom?
Let's call them an overachieving ex-theater kid.
She's a real actress.
What else do we got? How did the show go the other night on Records of the Realm, CZ?
It was fun.
Yeah.
I finally got to play my Fire Ganassi Barbarian.
Nice.
Love it.
And I now want to play.
The lion out.
I want to play her again, and hopefully in a more long-term campaign.
I love playing barbarians. I felt the exact same way after I played Katya with you. That was an ancestral guardian barbarian. Such a cool character.
Yeah, no, Leona was Path of the Beast, so that was a lot of fun.
Miss my barbarian.
But we are here to recap
Yeah. Before we dive
on
in,
Forging Fates.
anyone else got anything coming up before we dive in?
September 5th, you can find me over on the Records of the Realm channel again, doing
Nice.
a Blades in the Dark one-shot.
Nice, nice.
Love it.
Nope.
When are we back? Just next
Next week is part 2 of the recap.
Yep.
We have Queer and Present Danger next week.
We
And
also
then-
have Investigation Check on Thursday with GM Justin.
Oh, hell yeah.
What's this Thursday?
Thursday the 5th. According to what you told me. Unless it changed.
No, Thursday the 29th. We have Vargas the Wanderer.
Yeah, we
that's
have
this
Vargas
Thursday,
Wanderer first,
Yes.
and then the following one
Yes,
is
GM Justin's next week.
On the 5th.
Right. Justin's on the 5th,
Yeah.
but we have Vargas this Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wasn't wrong. I just missed one.
All right.
There.
With that, I think let's dive into the recap, everyone. Starting with Arc 1, Forging of the Fates.
Oh, hey, that's us.
Yes.
That's us.
Who would like to kick off Arc 1?
Once upon a time.
who took
in a
those
land
notes?
Far, far away.
Who took
I love
those-
when we're all on the same page about everything.
Who took those notes?
I took those notes.
Okay.
I just need to pull up the Google Doc. Boom, boom, boom. Session opens up with introductions of characters. So you will meet Tristan, our elven barbarian. Gormrod.
Elven? Question mark?
Well, at first it was elf question.
Oh, he's an elf.
We
Yeah.
are still. This is episode 1. Nothing has happened
Okay,
yet.
okay.
Gormrod, monk, half orc monk.
There you go.
Go.
Whisper is an elf druid.
Mhm.
Finnick is an Asimar sorcerer. We had Felix. We started out with Felix, who was a halfling wizard, and then there was me, your favorite character, the Harengon rogue.
Accurate.
So it starts off with a cart headed into Western carrying Finnick and Whisper. They just went on a mission with other people. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so like in our session 0 with Joe Gemini, it was basically like how our 2 characters met and how they would be like introduced into the campaign together. So Finnick had been working a job and they came across Whisper, who was running from something, and we helped her out and brought her into town. So Joe would have to remind me, but I think like Whisper and Finnick were in the same cart for a few days, or was
Yeah.
it just a day?
I think it was about a day or two.
About a week.
Was it a week? I don't know.
Was it a week?
It was just shy of a week.
But I do remember you guys meeting up as Whisper was being chased by some ice mephits,
Yep. The blood popsicles.
blood popsicles.
But
Yeah. That's
Hashtag
Yeah,
just
it
girly
was-
things.
So Whisper, Finnick, and their crew make their way into Western, and they stop at Murray Lynn's to get some rest and food. So they sit down at a table, order some grub, relax a little bit, and then in walk Tristan and Gormrog.
Oh, hey, that's me.
That's you.
Do you remember what Tristan and Gormrog were doing before they arrived at Marie Lynn's?
Dying.
As you walked in, you were Stir and Fry were like, "Why are you guys late?" Being all annoying in their annoying voices, and you guys were telling them that you were late because there were an abnormal amount of spiders in the alley.
So, for our session 0, we actually had a lead-in to the Ettercap scenario that's going to be coming up, where we're going down an alley and we see spiders and spiders and spiders and spiders, and we're like, we're small-time heroes. We're a member of the Cobalt Soul and his bodyguard, both from the Rivermaw tribe of barbarians. We got this. It's just a bunch of bugs. We did not got that. We almost TPK'd the two of us in our session 0. It was so bad. It was rough, guys. But we survived. We told the Cobalt Soul about it, or we intended to. I don't know if that was before or after stream started. And then we made our way to work, where Tristan's a bouncer and I'm a chef.
Yeah. Yeah. Tristan mentions that he hates book learning. I don't know where that came from. I wanted to add that in there because it was so random. I just wanted to say it. And then Felix and Clover make their way into Western after almost a week and a half of travel. Felix knows it well because of school. We go into Murray Lynn's because Felix heard it's the kind of place that accepts everyone. And that's what Clover needs. She's never left Cobalt Quarry before. And she doesn't know what she is, but she's always looked a little weird. So she wanted to find the most accepting place that she could.
I will also say, in your session 0, Felix and Clover battled mud mephits.
Yeah. Mud monsters.
And
in my session 0, Clover jumped off of a lighthouse, and it was pretty cool.
That sounds pretty cool.
Nice.
I do have to ask, Joe, is the mud and ice method a lead-in to elemental shenanigans?
Yes, that is exactly what it was, as we are now.
Holy
Hell
shit!
Yeah.
That was me laying those trails at the very start of where we will end up getting to. Okay.
Yeah, so at this point, all of us are kind of like in our own separate corners of the restaurant doing our own thing. When Felix, our little wizard dude, wants to know if he can order a whole cow. And this is when Gormrog comes out and says his famous line of, "That's your name."
Oh, wait, what?
You gotta say it. He says, "The name's Gormrog. It's the same forwards and backwards."
Yeah. So, fun fact, when written out canonically, Gormrog's name is in all capitals, and the first GORM is normal, but then the ROG is written in reverse, so that if held up to a mirror, it looks exactly the same, forwards and backwards.
Nice.
Love that.
So Gormrog actually cannot make Felix the entire cow. So we
I
just
can. I'm just refuse to.
True. So we order regular stuff. Clover gets honey. Nah, I don't know why.
You don't know why?
I don't know why that's all I ordered for my first time ever at a restaurant. I could have ordered ratatouille. I could have ordered vegetarian pasta. I
Clover
don't
needed
know.
a
I
little taste
ordered
of
a
home.
cup of honey.
A little taste of home.
It was delicious, but not as good as the honey that we make at home.
Yeah, I guess I will say we were all so freaking nervous during that first session. Like, it
Oh,
was
man.
nerve-wracking.
Going back and rewatching these, it's tough. Like we've come a long way, I'll say that much. Like the quality has definitely improved. The acting on everyone's part has improved. It's been an interesting week just going through these
We're
old
so
videos.
much better now.
Yeah.
I can listen to my voice so much more now. I was trying to do this like high pitched thing with Clover, but when I watch it back, I'm just not into it at all. Yeah, so Finnick asks either Roslyn or Marie Lynn if there are any job openings there, which kind of gets Whisper, Felix, and Clover all kind of like, yeah, that person knows what they're doing. We should all get jobs. And that's the conversation that's kind of happening when suddenly a man runs into the restaurant frantically searching for his daughter, screaming for help, asking if anyone can help him. Gormrog, I believe, initially goes up to the man asking for details. And Gormrog and Tristan are like, yes, we absolutely can help you find your daughter. What can you tell us? He says she went looking for her cat. And that's when Gormrog realizes, I saw a spider kill a cat yesterday. Which doesn't help the man calm down at all.
No.
Absolutely
No.
not.
But they say that they'll take on the job, they'll find this little girl, and Clover says, Felix, please, can we do this too? I want to help. And then Finnick and Whisper also want to help. And that's how we all go on our first journey together. We just all really want to find this little girl and maybe make some gold afterwards. I don't know, maybe.
Well,
think
I guess one
that
thing
was-
is
Sorry,
Finnick was actually hesitant to go on that first mission. Well, and like, as far as I know, Dom was the only one that caught it when Finnick got hung up on the word mission.
Mm.
Gormrog, as I watched, I noticed that Gormrog caught a lot of little things about Finnick that nobody else did.
Huh, how about that?
That's
There.
crazy.
Is that foreshadowing or what?
Sorta.
Not at all.
But the thing I was going to say is that I think that was a good indication of the moral standpoint of the Fists of Fate throughout the entire 66 episodes we've had. Is that first episode really kicked it off of we're going to be a motley crew to be sure, but mostly good.
Oh yeah, I was joking about the gold. We didn't receive anything from this task. We just wanted to help find the little girl.
Clover
I mean,
will have plenty of opportunities in the future to be like, hey, so gold. so gold?
I mean, she is a young, enterprising woman
Yes.
of exceptional charisma. I think
Well,
she is.
it's really Whisper who always makes sure we get the gold. I mean, eventually we all become pretty good at negotiating and making sure we're compensated for almost killing ourselves trying to complete battles, but it starts off with Whisper. Sorry, I'm trying to find my spot.
Oh,
So yeah, we take on this job, and Gormrog remembers where he saw the spider the day before, and he takes us on this journey down into the sewers.
Hey, cat.
Jump scared me.
Oh.
Well, because she's been Yeah, she's been hiding under my bed because of the thunderstorms, so.
What a good little predator.
Inside the sewers, a giant spider comes out. Finnick casts Fireball. That engages us in combat. We kill the spiders, searching for the girl down there once again. Eventually, Felix has the bright idea to use his familiar to go ahead, and he's standing there watching through his familiar's eyes when he sees a room just absolutely covered in webs and webs of cocoons made of webs. So we head that way. The closer we get, we can start to hear the screams of a little girl, which is a good sign. That means that somebody is alive.
Mhm.
We make it into that room where there is a giant spider lady. I put giant spider lady dash dryad question mark. Is that what it's called?
Ettercap.
Ettercap.
Also, we gotta hydrate, guys.
Yep.
I didn't see that one. Logomancy. I love that guy.
Good peoples.
Ettercap. And combat again. While Whisper, Clover, Tristan, Gormrog, and Felix all immediately engage in battle, Finnick is like, okay, they got this. I'm gonna go free that kid. So we're all fighting off this giant ettercap, and Finnick goes and cuts out this cocoon, freeing this girl who's in absolutely terrible shape. I noted that after we killed the spider and Finnick is just standing there healing and holding the girl, Tristan walks up and looks at her, noticing a weird familiarity before quietly walking away. Is that something we never touched on? Is that something that's gonna come up in the future? It caught my attention.
Wait, familiarity, with me or the little girl?
Tristan walks up and looks at the little girl, noticing a weird familiarity before quietly walking away.
I think that
Weird,
plot
right?
point-
I don't know. I'm gonna have to ask.
I think that plot
I'm gonna
point
have
is
to
come and
ask Tristan about
gone. I guarantee Donald doesn't remember that at all.
66 sessions ago, you said this thing. What did it mean?
Yeah, Joe, remember every detail of every plan you've ever had in terms of lost threads.
We gather the girl to head out of the sewers when the session ends, and that was episode 1.
Okay.
We did not get out of the sewers yet. We just were on our way out.
So
Sounds like a good time.
let's see. Clover, Maz wants to know. Clover ... honey what's the connection? Is there a connection between Clover and honey?
Yeah, Clover grew up on the Hexcomb family farm, and they grow all of this fresh vegetables, fruits, but their biggest thing is that they make the most amazing honey because they have the best relationship with the bees. And the honey is so good that it's the only honey sold all over Hobolt Quarry. And also now there's a shop in Zephyra where Clover's sister Aster sells the honey. And it's just really good. A really good product.
And also the naming convention you use for all of your siblings.
And yes, all of Clover's siblings are named after different types of honey. And I will read that for you now. So her oldest sister is Akasha. Her oldest brother is Lyndon. Her older sisters are Aster and Sage. Then her younger siblings are Manuka, who goes by Manny, and Golden, who goes by Goldie. So we are all named after different types of honey.
Okay. Let's dive in.
Because you're all so sweet.
So sweet.
All right. So, moving on to episode 2. Start powering through some of these. See what we can do.
Am I supposed to be doing every single one that I recap?
I think that's probably the easiest way to do it. And then once we get up to the introduction of the Myriad is when we'll go into Arc 2.
Yeah.
Got it. All right. So episode 2, we begin. We are still in the sewers. Finnick is carrying out this little girl. The rest of us notice that there's still all of these cocoons, so we start trying to rip them, cut them, punch them open, only to unfortunately, content warning for bodily fluids. I'm gonna give people 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. We find no more living, but several bodies drained of bloods and other internal fluids, including a woman from the Cobalt Soul that Gormrog had just seen the day before, and a member of the guard. While opening the cocoons, we notice a tunnel that the spiders may have come from. That comes in handy later. And Felix investigates the spiders, the big ettercap that we killed, its arms that we found a cuff on, and it looks like a locking enchantment like arcane lock. Felix flips through its
real quick,
files.
is that the end of the content warning stuff?
Yes. All right, so then as we are trying to decide what we're going to do with these bodies, and Finnick is already making her way out, Finnick and Whisper's friends, Galvula and Bick, who they were in the cart with, they come in to help us, which is amazing. And with their help, we managed to carry all of the dead bodies back to Maryland's with us, which was a choice.
She was not happy.
On the way out of the tunnel, Clover notices writing on the wall saying "Clasp Hideout This Way," written in Thieves' Cant. Okay, just also that comes up later. So we make it back to Murray Lynn's with a very ill-looking child and 7 dead bodies. While we're there, Marie Lynn obviously wants to call the cops to come check this all out and make sure we put in a report. So while we're waiting for the cops, Whisper, and I am so excited about this, Whisper asks Gormrog to teach her how to cook. So you're not caught up yet, but in our very last session, 66, Whisper finally makes an edible meal. It's like her first edible meal. And it's so crazy to think that the first time she had a cooking lesson was in episode 2. So
Yeah.
I love that. She's come so far.
Character growth.
If you watch this back later, Whisper, we're so proud of you.
I feel like that may have been a failing on my part, but no, I'm really proud of her. She's really doing a lot of work and putting in a lot of effort. It's good stuff.
So the guard finally arrives, and one of the guards is Lyndon, who I just mentioned is my brother. Clover's brother. I go back and forth. Am I Taz? Am I Clover? I don't know. He pretends he doesn't know us. He pretends he doesn't know me and Felix, but Felix excitedly greets him anyway, and Lyndon just pretends to not hear him. We are questioned by the guards and give them proof of spiders and Ettercap, and we are asked not to leave the town during this investigation. Gormrog, upon them saying that, draws them a map to the sewers. Finnick keeps zoning out, and when Gormrog asks her why she's zoning out, she says, "Mental blocks, we all got them." As the day ends, we decide to meet back for breakfast since we're all going through this investigation together. So I guess that this investigation is kind of what makes us keep seeing each other after that first thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
We go the next day. We go to Cobalt Reserve so Gormrog can report yesterday's incident to Expositor Holt and let them know a Cobalt member has been killed. Gormrog, do you want to explain what that's all about?
I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Gormrog is trying to become an expositor. He's still an initiate at this point. And
Jesus.
in order to make it up to that rank, he needs to complete missions and report any findings throughout the city. And the Cobalt Soul, being dealers in information, and see, well, not dealers, but hoarders of information. Um, this seemed like the type of thing to just be like, hey, this is going on. You should know about it. Also, look at how valuable an asset I am for finding out this information. You should want to continue to trust in me and give me more responsibility.
Cool.
Yeah.
So Expositor Hold looks at the cuff and she doesn't know what it is, but she is able to identify a symbol on it of the League of Miracles. And Expositor says the League's reputation to the public is positive because they've helped rebuild Western, but they've done it in a negative way. And if we have any more questions, to check out the League of Miracles, Spellwright Hystics, and the Spellwright Sanctum. At that point, Gormrog is pretty invested in this, and he says, you guys don't have to come with me on this journey, but if you want to help me out, that would be awesome. And we decide, well, we are not allowed to leave town, so of course we'll help you. I don't think we exactly said that. I think some people were really excited to help you. Of course, Tristan, your brother, is right by your side no matter what. Before we leave the Cobalt Reserve, we decide to go to their big library and we study Vecna, the Dawnfather, the Matron of Ravens, Comacron Conclave, Spellwright, League of Miracles, the Wonder Worker, who anytime they have returned is to perform some great miracle. And then Clover just wanted to look up some basic magic books to know what the fuck is going on.
I completely forgot about the Wonder Worker.
Yeah.
That was something I wanted to look into and just never did.
Yeah.
And now we can do it again thanks to this recap session. So
Just
while
scrap everything. Let's go back to Western.
So while four of us were in there studying, Whisper and Tristan stayed outside because they're like, book learning, and instead Tristan tells Whisper about his friendship with Gormrog and how they've been together for as long as he cares to remember. Or as long as he can remember, I'm not really sure which. And that's the end of session 2.
Okay.
Speaking for Donald, I will say it's a bit of both, right? Because a theme here is we're all traumatized.
Totally.
Yep.
One of the things that gets revealed later on is that Tristan joined the Rivermaw tribe later in life, after being found by them in the woods.
Yeah.
So it's both as long as he can remember and as long as he cares to remember, because it is his trauma that's making it that he can't remember before that.
Yes, Anderson wants to know, if you met your character in real life, what food would you introduce them to?
Oh, good question.
Easy. Mac and cheese. That girl needs some comfort food.
Similar vibes, falafel.
Ooh, nice.
Ooh. I don't think I've ever actually had smoothies.
Smoothies, yeah.
Any specific kind?
Nah, maybe something with like peanut butter and frozen berries and like
Protein
know,
protein powder.
No, not protein shake. Well, maybe also that, but just something where you can get like all the nutrients. Give him some variety in the drinks he drinks, because tea all the time is not great.
Yeah. Actually, in an upcoming session, Clover orders apple cider, and I'm like, yeah, you know what? After all this tea, that sounds kind of nice.
Also, just like, I feel like sort of like modern day breakfast foods. Like, get some like those fancy dressed up hash browns that have like eggs and vegetables and meats on them.
Ooh.
I'm also
Bacon, egg,
just
and
might be a little
cheese.
hungry right now.
I want Clover to try like a black bean burger.
Okay.
I wonder because she's
Ooh.
never had a burger before.
Yeah.
Because in our world, it's always meat.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like a black bean burger.
I was gonna say like my stepmother and my dad are both vegan due to health issues, but like some of the foods they're eating are like cauliflower based, but it tastes like meat, and it's actually
Yeah,
really good
cauliflower
stuff.
steak.
Like I like if I could, like I'd get some of those recipes and start cooking something up for Clover.
Totally.
Just like veggie alternatives to spice up her menu.
I was, a random fact, a vegetarian for several years. So I do have some recipes up my sleeve, but none of them make sense for the fantasy world that we live in.
Mm.
Um,
All right.
yeah, so on to session 3. We leave the Cobalt Reserve and make our way to the Market District to find Lyndon, who once again is Clover's brother, and he is a big presence in these very early sessions.
Mm-hmm.
We do find him. He excitedly greets me and Felix. Felix, by the way, is Lyndon's best friend since childhood. They were best friends since they were like 4 or 5 years old. We, unlike some of the other characters or children in other parts of Exandria, in Hobalt Quarry, we had primary school starting at like 6 years old. So a lot of us went to school together and grew up together in school. That's how they know each other. So Lyndon takes us to this little old lady's shop. It's a knick-knack and tea shop to catch up. He informs us of random creatures such as manticores and zombies popping up around Westren.
Which I don't think we ever actually encountered.
No, that's intense. I'm glad that the zombie epidemic never became a thing. Joe, I hope it doesn't become a thing. That's wild. Joe's gone.
Yeah. Zombies aren't really on my to-do list.
At least not yet.
Lyndon catches us up on his personal life when we find out that he went on a date with a 50-year-old pink-haired Wendy with long nails.
She's
But
50?
yeah, it was not that I forgot about that when
What?
I went back.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Wendy is 50, so cougar. Cause Lyndon's like, for real, Joe, cause Lyndon's like, what, 26, 27?
Oh no.
And Lyndon ended up not wanting to see her anymore because she kept poking him. After we have some snacks and some cider, we check out the knick-knack portion of the shop where Whisper gets Jimmy Jim.
That's right. Jimmy Jim.
Jimmy Jim.
The old floating
So
orb
with-
that never is seen again.
What?
Just forgotten about completely.
We've seen him for a little bit, but then yeah, later on we haven't seen him in a while. But Whisper bought Jimmy Jim, which is this floating orb that follows her. And Jem, who plays Whisper, she has this crystal ball that whenever she brings up Jimmy Jim, she puts like a post-it on its face to signify if it's happy, angry, or sad. It's really cute and funny. Jem is really cute and funny, so I'm not surprised. But if you ever go back and watch early sessions, it's definitely one of the more adorable things. After that, we go to the Academy. I don't know which Academy because it was never explicitly said. Every time you refer to the Academy, you just said the Academy. I rewound and rewatched like 6 times to make sure.
Yeah, I can give you the
But
name.
we go to the Academy to talk to Professor Gibbons, who is very intrigued by Clover and is going to ask around his colleagues what they know about halflings who look like her. Clover, in the first few episodes, didn't know what she was, because there aren't any other Harengon in Exandria that we've ever seen. Even as of episode 66, I'm still the only one. And so she calls herself a halfling, and she hides her ears and her tail and all that. All right. So Whisper and Lyndon are flirting.
It is the West Hall Academy. The West
Huh?
West Hall Academy.
West Hall
West
Academy.
Hall.
West Hall. Yeah, so sometime while we're all there, and at this point Lyndon's following along with us, Whisper and Lyndon start flirting. I don't know if Lyndon's really flirting back with Whisper, but Whisper is heavily flirting with Lyndon. I love it. And then Gormrog introduces us to diplomacy. Do you want to explain that at all?
Oh, you mean Diplo and Macy?
Diplo and Macy.
So I named my fists because when I was very young, I wasn't exactly as smart as I am now, and my right fist is called Diplo because you have to Diplo in order to avoid getting hit by it, and my left fist is Macy because it's a little slower and you may see it coming. But when you put them together, it's diplomacy, and that way you could solve any of your problems.
Iconic, honestly.
Love it. So apparently nothing really important happened at the academy because I didn't write anything about it. We head to the League of Miracles. Felix puts the lock on his own wrist in an attempt to have the League of Miracles have to remove it. Once we arrive there, we meet Wendy. Whisper just angrily glares at Wendy the entire time. Like, before she even has a chance to speak, Whisper's just like,
I mean, she's kind of fucking psycho.
I mean, she is absolutely psycho, but even before we knew she was psycho, Whisper was just glaring at her. Wendy says an incantation popping the shackle unlocked. Finnick manages to memorize the incantation and write it down later.
Oh shit, I forgot about that.
Wendy confirms that a few monsters have gone missing, but she isn't sure which ones. Wendy tries to scratch Clover with her nails, and then she does scratch Felix and Whisper and Tristan, and we find out that she's doing that to... Brief content warning for bodily fluids again. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. She collects blood so she can experiment with it. Content warning over. We make an appointment to speak with the Spellwright. When we get out, for some reason, Tristan rages at Lyndon, and for almost out of nowhere, and I only wrote it down because it's hilarious to me, and he's already getting along with my family. Whisper says, oh, and this, we're all just chit-chatting while we're waiting for our appointment with the Spellwright, and Whisper says she comes from a small cottage up north with no brothers and sisters, and it was very lonely, which is why she's here.
Such a liar.
And none of us thought to insight check
No
her.
one questioned it.
No one questioned it, because why would
What reason did we have to think she was lying? Also, I do have to ask Joe.
Yeah.
Wendy, Blood Hunter or homebrew Hemocraft?
Hemocraft.
I think I know it.
What is it?
Actually, because in the Critical Role Exandria sourcebook, there is a cleric domain, the Blood domain.
Yep. This is exactly what she is.
So.
Oh.
Blood Domain Cleric.
Blood Domain Cleric.
I don't have that book, so I didn't know that.
Yeah. Is there a picture of Jimmy Jim?
Session 3.
Hold on. Is there a picture of Jimmy Jim?
What did you say?
Is there a picture of Jimmy Jim?
I have like this screenshot, but it's not going to show up well. That's not it. It's not going to show up well, but I will post it in the Discord later, but let me like make it big.
Zoom in.
Do you see that at all?
The
It's got a
little orb with the frowny
with a
face.
face on it.
So that's Jimmy Jim.
Yep.
Don't ask
So
me
is
why.
that Gem with green
Oh,
hair?
I just thought it was
Yeah.
cute. Awkward. Let's move on. Yeah, that was the end of session 3. No more questions in the chat, but Hans earlier put some questions in the Discord if you want to grab one from there.
Yes.
Oh, I have them. Go ahead.
What is one quality of the other PCs that your PC admires most about them?
Quality of the other PCs that your PC admires.
Well, Finnick admires like Tristan's like sort of passion. Like whatever he's doing, he's always super passionate about it.
More passion, more energy, more passion, more energy.
Clover, there's just so many. Like Clover, she's cute but deadly.
Mm-hmm.
That's so true.
Whisper, like, I feel like she sort of keeps things interesting, in a sense. Like, for sure. And Gormrog, just, there's so many qualities.
Mm-hmm.
Gormrog is very honorable. Like, he sticks to his guns. He's constantly, he's honorable, doing what's right and fighting for what's right. I mean, we all are, but
That completely changes what I had to say.
Oh,
what?
I was just gonna be stupid and just be like, "Oh yeah, Gormrog likes Finnick's face." It's nice to look
true
at.
too. Finnegan's
But
nice.
no, similar to what you said, Whisper definitely keeps things interesting. Her particular brand of chaos is something she stays true to no matter where we go or what we do. And Clover is just a force to be reckoned with. She's nigh unstoppable. Tristan has always been this stalwart monolith of a human being who's just unweathered by everything that life has thrown at him. And Finnick is divinity in Gormog's eyes. He truly sees her as a celestial, and like he's seen a halo around her head. Like it is literally like, hey, maybe the gods aren't so bad if they can make something that beautiful. And I'm gonna
God damn it.
now you match. Now you look like a strawberry. Points for me. But like truly he sees her as an incredible, capable somebody able to harness magic and chaos in ways that he's never seen before. So he admires her potential and her aptitude with that.
What about you, Tez?
Okay. I didn't know how to follow that. Wow. Put me on the spot. I guess Gormrog is like a consistent voice of reason. Finnick keeps everyone grounded. Whisper is just Clover and are we saying what we love about them or what Clover loves about them? Because Clover loves how independent Whisper is. Like to Clover, Whisper is
coolest older sister in the world.
Clover admires how Whisper just doesn't tell anyone she's going to do something and then just does it. She's like, I want to do that, I'm gonna do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the way Clover feels about Tristan, she loves I'm trying to choose like one thing.
You don't have to. You could ramble.
Just like Bramble.
I think the thing that Clover loves the most about Tristan is that he's truly the only one who understands what it's like to be completely, well, Finnick, don't get mad at me saying this. He's in Clover's eyes, Tristan is the only one who understands what it's like to be completely different. There's no one else like you anywhere to be found, and it's weird, and you don't want people to look at you. And for her entire life, Clover was the only person who felt that way until Tristan got cursed and started becoming whatever he is. So now she finally has someone who can relate to her. And those are the things.
Okay. Let's dive into the next few episodes here.
I'd love to ask Brad's burning question about how do you feel about Brad and why do you love him so much. I'm going to answer this right now. I love that you show up to almost every single session and we can count on you and you're a really fucking cool fan.
I heard he rules.
Or viewer, whatever you prefer to be called.
I heard he rules.
I heard you rule, yeah. Okay. So we're on session 4, the Spellwright Sanctum. While we are waiting for our meeting with Hystix, Tristan decides to go on one of his Tristan journeys. You know, sometimes he just disappears. He needs some time to himself, and so he's gone. The rest of us have lunch at the Jumping Jackal, and Gormrog asks us all to describe our special skills, because if we're going to be working together, we might as well know what everyone's good at. Do you guys want to say what you're good at?
Punch things really fast.
Magic.
And Clover can shoot things from real far away.
Well, and you can hide.
True.
And also insanely perceptive.
All right, don't make me list everything Finnick's good at.
Talking about you.
We go back to Spellray for our meeting with Hystix. He claims that animals didn't escape, someone broke in and stole them. He accuses the class. Hystix, or actually Salgum, is that the name?
Hystix
Salgum
Salgum.
His name
hires
is
us.
Hystix is his first name.
Okay, they're the same person. Okay. Hystix hires us to find out who broke in and freed the animals. And he agrees to give us 200 gold, and that was Whisper. That's why I said that earlier. Whisper was the one who was like, well, what are you going to give us? 200 gold. So as we do our first exploration of the Spellwright Sanctum, we find out that they keep the animals... I'm just not going to say that word, so they keep the animals caged up and test them. They are building these things called automatons. Did I say that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
To replace the guard. When we investigate one of the cages, we find footmarks that are in the shape of 4 large dots that we eventually realize look like frog feet.
Mm.
One of their spirings, Golash, is running the clasp in Westron. He typically wears an ogre-like mask. And I'm going to skip that one too. They only test on animals, but he says that they don't test on humans and humanoids yet, which implies, obviously, that they are planning on it. We leave for the night. Finnick admits to Gormrog it bothered her to hear Hystix say, for the greater good. Aw, Whisper asks Felix to give Jimmy Jim a sad face. And aw, Clover made everyone friendship bracelets. Whisper says, Clover tells the story of how her parents met, which, by the way, they met because they were at an outdoor market outside of Stillben when they both put their hands on the same moldy fruit, and they vowed to never let the people of Stillben have to eat moldy fruit again, so they opened their own farm. Whisper says, I wish I had siblings. And then overnight, Finnick wakes up and looks around to find she's in a monastery. She spent many nights locked away. She hears familiar voices saying, I don't know why she has that. Do you think it's possible that it got to her? In any case, she's our daughter. Is she even one of us, or is she a monster? If things progress, we'll have to make a decision. The door opens and a giant flaming body walks in before she wakes up back where she belongs. And that's the end of season 4.
I have a
So-
question for you,
That's funny.
Cece. What? I have a question for you, Cece. What was having that first like real dream like for you? Because I know we discussed
Well,
like the, leading into some of that stuff heavily.
Yeah, I know we'll probably get further into Finnick's dreams along the lines, but because like during character creation, we like, you know, traumatic backstory, like this shit will give you nightmares, like if you went through what Finnick did. And so it's completely different than like, okay, discussing it, like what would the nightmares be about, and then it like when role playing that first thing, I'm like, oh shit, shit's fucked. It's a ton of fun on like Cece's end. Like I love getting to like role play those moments because like again, it's like I put myself in, like I am my character like when I play D&D. So
Totally.
the first one was a very mild one to start, but it's still like fed into like Finnick's anxieties and everything. So
Okay.
Yeah,
Taz,
that was a mild one.
you wanna hammer through these next 3 episodes quick?
I'm gonna try my best.
as we're
Yes.
coming up on
Okay.
an hour.
Yeah. Session 5, Dark Meetings. The team wakes up and meets at Maryland's for breakfast. People from tables all around us keep glancing at us. Eventually, Whisper walks up to one of them and asks why they keep looking over at us. Suddenly, every single patron stands up in unison when a tall man in an ogre mask walks over and sits at our table while everyone stays standing and watches us. Super weird. This
Creepy.
is obviously Golash, as I mentioned with the ogre mask. He admits to supplying several Ettercap to the Spellrite, but the other monsters popping up in the city are not from the class. He says they have no business in the sewers, and an insight check says that he's telling the truth. He says when the creature escaped, the Spellrite hoped the guards would prove inept and need replacing, hence the automaton. We tell Golash where the thieves can't in the sewers said clasp hideout, and he says that is not us. We have no business in the sewers, but he does want to know where it is so that he can go check it out for himself. So we draw him a map. That conversation ends. Everybody leaves. Gormrod gives Felix an inspirational speech and says we're in this together. Then Felix reveals to Gormrod that he has the number 777592 on his back. We all decide we need a little break. Finnick goes upstairs to her room. The rest of us go roll in the grass and mud. Whisper and Clover specifically make mud angels, and Clover tries to prestidigitate for the first ever time and cleans everyone up successfully. We then go back to the League of Miracles to investigate and search the area more. Mirabelle, our guide's biggest concern is perfecting the automatons. We go back to the front desk and investigate the sign-in sheets, writing down all of the names, one of which is Malice, who also dropped off supplies. So we take note of that. Then we go back down in the cage room to see that the cage has been moved and the hole has been re-exposed.
Okay.
That is the end of session 5. Session 6, the tunnels below. We go down the hole to see those same frog-like footsteps. Eventually, they reach other footsteps of other people. We follow them for a while until we reach a wall that seems fake. So we chip away at it until we're able to create a crack in it, where immediately we see this creepy worm-like creature combat. Felix got the kill, and Gormrod got mad that we killed it instead of just restraining it. How could you do that? It's just an animal. It doesn't know what it's doing. We managed to tear down more of the wall and find a room on the other side with beds and a desk. Finnick finds receipts of creatures being purchased and a small golden key. We see small and large symbols of the clasp in multiple places. And then Clover hears multiple voices crying out as well as clanging metal. She puts her face up against a wall to listen, and it ends up being a mimic and tries to eat her face. Another combat. We eventually make it to the crying noises and discover multiple cages holding creatures. The key that Finnick found was the key to get into this room with all of these cages down here. One of these cages holds a griffin that we just can't leave behind. So we try to secure the room while Whisper picks the lock to the griffin's cage. As the cage door unlocks, the clasp appears through a different entrance. End of session 6.
Cliffhanger.
Session 7, The Great Escape. So, Golash and some class members appear in the sewers as we're trying to break free of Griffin. Whisper pretends the cage is still locked. They don't seem to want any trouble with us. They continue to claim that this is not one of their locations and someone is trying to frame them. Whisper still wants to break out the Griffin, but we don't want the clasp to know what we're doing or try to stop us. So Finnick and Clover decide to try to distract Golash while Whisper and everybody else break the Griffin out and take them in the other direction.
I forgot about that.
So Finnick goes one way and starts making noises while Clover asks Golash if he wears the mask because he's ugly. It's 8 p.m. Oh, whoops, I didn't need to say that part. Long story short, we break out the Griffin and Whisper names him Talon. And Talon stays with us forever. Session 8. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I think it's funny that anytime Finnick has tried to cause a distraction, it has failed miserably. Like,
this one did not fail because we freed Talon.
But it's the way I remember it failing. Like, Golash is like, I know what you're doing. Like,
I think it was failing until I asked him if he was ugly and that's why he wore a mask. So. Wait, let me drink the last bit of this. I'm dying.
Won't I?
Session 8, The Ticking Clock. After breaking out Talon and keeping him safe in the forest surrounding Westron, we had to find Lyndon to inform him of everything. He spoke to Captain Odoro about everything, but he didn't seem too bothered, and Lyndon thinks he may be paid off. We end up back at Murray Lynn's where Finnick senses the thoughts all around. We're looking for like a certain type of people that were described to us previously that I didn't write down, but just trust me. She notices the thoughts of a woman somewhere in an inn room with feminine red hands in front of her holding a small package with black sand. She writes it down on the note. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, the thing is, it's like, sorry for interrupting, but it's like, good. I was just listening into people's thoughts, and it was just like, oh, you hear somebody, like, trying to get dressed, you hear, like, people, like, thinking about their relationships, and then there's somebody that's like, okay, this goes here, I put this here, and it was a complete gamble that I selected, like,
absolutely,
that person to delve deeper into. Like, that was pure luck.
Yeah. So you wrote down what you saw in a note to pass to Gormrog, which was brilliant because obviously if we're there, they're going to be listening to us. Gormrog goes to find Rosalind but can't find her. Finnick realizes the tiefling may be creating dynamite. Gormrog screams, "We got problems! Get out!" And Clover screams, Physic in her vision sees the tiefling hear fire and begin to work faster. So great job, Clover. Lyndon gets everyone out while the team goes up to look for the tiefling. We finally find the tiefling, and Clover shoots an arrow at her hand right as she's about to set off the dynamite. She jumps out of a window and begins to run. We chase her, take her down, keep her alive for interrogation. And that is the end of my portion of the recap. Hallelujah.
And that is also the end of Arc 1, the Forging of the Fates. Any questions or comments you guys have about anything that happened in that first arc?
How could you?
Yeah. Well, that hadn't happened yet.
I don't have any questions. I keep looking back at the things that Whisper said. I wish I had siblings. I was so lonely. I grew up in a small cottage, and I'm like, wow, this girl weaved the lies in. She was so good.
Well, yeah, because looking back, she was like on the run essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, with that, we're going to dive into Arc 2 of Forging Fates. Explosive Enemies.
Is that you, Joe?
That is me.
Yeah.
One of my favorite episodes. We start off with the interrogation of Malice. The whole team kind of begins to attempt to interrogate this tiefling woman, eventually getting to the point where she's stonewalling them. And I remember Clover specifically being like, how are you talking to us like this? We're going to kill you. And Malice, with her expert training in surviving torture, kind of just blew the whole thing off and was able to keep her cards to herself until she was charmed by Whisper, which made this whole thing go a lot easier, as eventually you all kind of begin to take her out of Marie Lynn's and leave Lyndon in charge of watching the explosives, eventually sending him back up to the room to kind of like secure the scene. While you guys get Malice up into the Gormrog's room, Clover goes ahead and pickpockets Malice as she's talking to Whisper. You do come
Never
to
said I was a saint.
you do come to find out that Marie Lynn's is being targeted because of the meeting that you had with the clasp at Marie Lynn's. Even though you didn't set that meeting, had no idea the meeting was going to happen, that is why Marie Lynn's was targeted. It eventually comes out that the name of the frog person is Redep, and he is a grung that you will come to know. And you also find out that,
Very well.
that both of them work for the Myriad, a thieves organization from Wildmount that is working its way up into Western to try and establish a foothold in an open market as they try to lower trust in the clasp and usurp them as the organization that will do all the crime in the area. You come to learn that they are targeting the Spellwright because he is aligned with the clasp, having been purchasing things from him to test his automatons, and because they don't like the idea of these automatons and they want to disrupt that research. This is where the team name is first established, where the Fruity Pebbles are formed.
Oh.
Because Whisper is going by Banana. I think Gormrog goes by... I forget what Gormrog called himself. Either way. But it's at this point that Whisper wild shapes into a Mastiff, and you all quickly kill Malice, as during this time she had reached out to Redep because Whisper wanted to, using her charm spell, said that she wanted to join the Myriad, and it is at this point that Redep gets word that Malice is doing something other than her mission, as she seems to be distracted by something else. Clover suggests chopping up Malice to get her across town. Fun note, 19-year-old Harangon.
She's just a naive little bunny girl. You can't fault her.
As Gormrog's apartment is destroyed by some of these events, polluting it with blood and destroying a chair, I believe, in the process. Eventually, you load Malice's body onto a blanket and get her out of there. As you all are leaving down the street, Whisper does hear footsteps on wet wood and tells the party to locate the source, but they can't get a fix on it due to the rain. Felix gets a glimpse of something blue on the rooftops. You all make it to the Jumping Jackal and have a meeting with Golash. At this point, you turn the body over to him, but not before claiming both of Malice's horns as your own, as they are both ripped violently off of her skull.
I forgot that we had those. Whisper has those, right?
Clover
Yeah.
and Whisper have one.
Well, because
Oh.
later on, Whisper uses them to disguise herself.
Disgusting.
Wait, that's what she uses? That's where she got those tiefling horns? Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, wait,
from
that
Malice.
never connected for me. That's sick. I
She
love
snapped
it.
those off.
That's so cool.
From there, after collecting your a reward from Golish, you all make your way over to the spell rites once more, deal with Wendy a little bit more, and then are brought up to the spell rites office, where you see a red broken gem on his desk that you come to find out is the Heartstone that bound Thorak. And it is the Fire Primordial's Heartstone that was used to bind Thorak in the Critical Role campaign.
We should have grabbed it then.
You collect a reward from the spell rite and are tasked with some more missions, mostly to kind of understand. You give him the location of the Myriad's hideout for an additional reward. That is what happened there. Eventually, you all make your way back to Marie Lynn's in an attempt to get some rest, check on Lyndon, and as you all enter into the room, you see a impaled Lyndon seated in a chair, and as you enter the room, it begins to fuse ignites, but Felix is quick to turn that off, and as you all attempt to revive Lyndon, with Felix going into several levels of exhaustion as he keeps casting Cure Wounds into the dead body, as you attempt to remove the blades, it activates a secondary trap on Lyndon's body, setting off an explosion, blasting several of you back, and then igniting the fuses on all of the bombs in the room, in which now all of you must escape Marie Lynn's.
So fucked. like,
And we
that
end.
was like it was such a horrible moment in this entire campaign. That was probably like one of the most horrible moments.
It's one of my favorite.
Well,
moments.
and thing is, Finnick took up a lot of guilt for that because she's the one who told Lyndon to stay back.
But at the end of that episode, the bombs go off, exploding Marie Lynn's, which is where episode 10 picks up.
The fact that that's only episode 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, how did you feel, Taz, about this whole?
So I was pissed. I was pissed because Lyndon is a guard and he's been a guard for like 8 years at this point. And I imagine him just being like a fairly high level. And I'm like, how can this guard be captured and killed so easily? I don't know. So Clover was devastated, and Taz was angry.
What about you, Dom?
And I do want to put out there, I am not against NPCs dying or being killed or whatever. It just didn't seem like the right time.
What about you, Dom? How'd you feel about Marie Lynn's being destroyed at this point?
I was heartbroken. This was Gormrog's home, away from home, away from home, away from home, right? Like
Yeah.
he's never really had solid foundation, and this was the first thing that he had that was anywhere close to that. And to just have that completely leveled because of, at the time, what I thought was just a bad deal. Like we had made a mistake in who we associated with, and now everything is gone. Right? Like I was heartbroken.
I have a question. If Marie Lynn's hadn't been destroyed,
Mhm.
and Lyndon obviously was not killed, would that have made it a possibility for you guys to side with the Myriad over the Clasp?
No.
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 No, I think we wanted to get the Myriad.
Yeah.
They were the ones who had been caging and doing all of these terrible things to these animals, and they had been the ones framing the Clasp, as far as we knew. And we
If
hated
Also,
them.
Tristan's backstory also has them intertwined as the enemy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
So, for me, at least, there was never a chance.
Okay. Well, episode
Yeah,
10. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it's like, unless, like, well, because like Finnick didn't really necessarily care at first. It's like the whole association thing, because
Uh-huh.
it's like they're thieves guilds. Like, why would we want to be associated with thieves? But also, like, they would have had to reveal something pretty like even worse than what the Myriad did to get us to turn on the Clasp as a whole. So
Right.
Mm,
Okay.
The Clasp was
curious.
pretty straightforward about, like, we're not good guys, but we have some degree of code,
Yeah.
mhm.
right? Whereas the Myriad just doesn't.
I was just curious. So, episode 10 begins with the explosion at Marie Lynn's. Finnick having a bit of a traumatic episode with the fire, as
Forgot about that.
if I'm remembering this correctly, Gormrog and Finnick being downstairs as they attempt to try and get people out.
Well,
Eventually,
I think Gormrog was the one to get Finnick out
yeah,
because she was paralyzed with fear.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
Eventually, as you are able to kind of navigate through this situation, you come to find out that Seamus, the Knolls that were the band, and Stir all perished in this explosion, leaving Fry to fend for himself without his brother.
You bastard.
See, you say that so easily. It's like a breath off of, like, and for us, it's like, Stir, die. You're like, ah.
It's just,
You're
like,
evil.
it's not real. It's a game. And we're just like, it's so real.
Stir and Fry, I feel like we're so loved by people too in those first few episodes. Like,
Oh my gosh, seriously.
Yeah,
Well, they were perfect. I just rewatched those episodes, so they're just so endearing and charismatic characters.
yeah. It's just that thing where it's like, if I were like more well versed in like D&D, it's like that's the silly companion that we would have had.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But instead, you
that's
killed
Gabo
Mom.
the Goblin.
From there, end up finding Redep as he kind of exposes himself in this moment to all of you before kind of making his escape. At this point, you all make your way over to the Platinum Dragon's Rest, where you are reunited with Tristan, and Lyndon is brought and revived thanks to the clerics there. Clover, at some point in the night, escapes the temple without anyone noticing and has a meeting with someone. Has that come out yet at all? And I don't really know. No? Okay.
It has not. It has not.
We
I don't know
we
if
were
CC
deafened
and
for this.
Yes, you
I
were
don't know if you
definitely.
guys want to deafen yourselves while we recap it.
No,
But-
damn it, I refuse.
I mean,
I
I guess at this point it's really
I
not
think
too big a deal.
CC has rewatched the episodes and
Right.
has seen it for herself, right? Themselves.
I only know a little bit of it before I was just like, I'm not supposed to know this,
Mhm.
and skipped past.
Yeah, I don't
However-
know if
Finnick did hear you come back. She did
Yeah.
not hear you leave.
Finnick heard Clover come back.
All right. Well,
But it's up
Either
to
way.
you, Joe.
I mean, at this point, I think we can just kind of let the cat out of the bag here.
Yeah, so this is maybe one of my biggest regrets of anything I did with Clover is that she left and she was just so angry with the Myriad that she went to the Jumping Jackal and she went face to face with Golash and said, "Help us kill the Myriad and I'll do whatever you want." And so that night, Clover became a clasp member.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So
That's
she has
definitely
like
not
a.
gonna bite us in the ass later.
So she See, I shouldn't have told them.
It's not like we're gonna do anything about it. We don't know.
So Clover, no one's ever noticed, but why would you? Clover has a little clasp tattoo somewhere on her body, and she has a sending stone with which she uses to communicate with
Golish.
Golash.
Yeah. Which you get
I almost
later.
fucked it
You
up.
don't get the sending stone at this point, but you get it at
Oh, I
the
don't.
next. No, you get it the next time you meet up with him.
Oh, okay.
And as Clover returns, Finnick has yet another intense nightmare,
Mm-hmm.
plagued by fires from the day's events. And that ends episode 10. Sounds like we could use a dwarf.
You know?
No, that hasn't come up yet. Never mind. Episode 11. Felix leaves you guys a note that you are given to in the morning by the cleric that helped revive Lyndon, that he is leaving for the library to study some of the numbers that he's been seeing. It's at this point that Wendy arrives at the temple looking for Lyndon, and you come to find that because of her magical abilities and the samples that she took from a few of you, Lyndon included, she's able to track your location, which is a fun reveal. So,
Right.
but thanks to Finnick using her newly acquired suggestion spell, you are able to send her away.
Yeah, I think you should leave. Bye-bye.
There is a member of the Platinum Guard that, while none of you know who it is at this point, Finnick, you do recognize the armor, though you don't know the actual person, though they do seem to recognize you in some way.
That threw me for a loop. Because I'm sitting here like, do they recognize me in a good way or a bad way?
But it is at this point, as you kind of exit the temple, you see several other locations have smoke rising in the air, and there is a mob of people moving through the streets towards the Jumping Jackal. They seem to be, for some reason, incentivized to attack the clasp, and they've been told where the clasp is currently housed. How? You're not quite sure until you see flyers that are clearly been distributed to these people, claiming the clasp as responsible. As the mob kind of makes its way into the square in front of the jumping jackal, you see people leaving the jackal on rooftops, and you all begin to attempt to kind of disperse the crowd and shift the blame to the myriad with little success because of the sheer insanity of the moment. It's at this point that Redep appears on top of the jumping jackal, making proclamations and threatening the crowd, claiming to be a class member, before he sets off explosions in the crowd, destroying several more buildings, injuring hundreds of people, and chaos ensues as you all attempt to chase after him. A very intense chase in which you almost catch up before just as you get close enough, he eventually is able to break line of sight and disappear and escape. It's at this point that you head back to the temple, I believe, and are introduced to the Lord Mayor, Lysandra Kalos, and she begins to question your team about the explosions, the information you know, and eventually, with all the information you have, she comes to task you with hunting down the myriad, offering you gold in exchange. They also tell you that a contract will be brought up and you are to report to her manor the next day with a team name, because the Fruity Pebbles does seem to be the name that you wanted to go with. So you are tasked with the next day to come and see her. Also, you are given half of the payment at the end of the day to help with supplies for the eventual confrontation with the myriad. It's at this point that you all kind of return to Marie-Lynn's, survey the destruction, say goodbye to those that you've lost, and make your way to bed for the evening. Episode 12 was our holiday episode, so everyone showed up in costume. Looking back, awesome costume, CC. The friggin' demon eye thing that you had, the contacts you had were awesome. But
yeah, that was... Thing is, like, those horns I had, they would not stay up, so at this point they were just like sad demon horns. And I'm just like, it's fine.
Yeah, the whole episode I'm just playing with that eye patch. I'm like, if I would have just moved the strap down a little bit, it would have been fine.
Is that the one where I ended up dressing as Velma?
Yes.
Okay, I was so disappointed. I had an entire other costume planned, but I didn't realize that the wig I had gotten was like plastic, and I tried curling it, and the wig melted. And it was like 30 minutes before our session started, and suddenly I didn't have a costume. I was so upset. Anyway, but a little Halloween lore for y'all.
Most of this episode is a shopping episode. A good 2 hours of it is as you guys go ahead and get some healing potions, deal with trying to do upgrades for yourselves, but most of it is just shopping. Eventually, you make your way to the Lord Mayor's house, where you sign a contract and officially title yourselves as the Fists of Fate. Eventually making your way back to the Jackal, you find that it is a lot less people there now, as most of the clasp has kind of escaped to try and find a little refuge from the crowds that are actively hunting them down in this moment. You gain some more information about dealing with Redep, specifically the information about grungs and kind of some of their abilities. And it's at this point that Golesh gives you, Clover, a sending stone that will contact you directly to him. But that ends episode 12. Episode 13? Yes?
Do we want to do a quick question?
I was gonna go to the end, but yeah, we can hit it now.
That's good.
Do you have one that you wanted to ask?
Because, no, it was a question from Hans.
Yes.
Yeah, let's do one.
What is your favorite collaborative moment you've had with another player or PC?
Well, CC started first last time, so let's have you Dom, start with this one, okay?
I actually have one if you want to think for a second.
Oh, go ahead, Tess.
Yeah, please.
It was with Tristan. It was Clover and Tristan. And it was after Tristan had ignored Clover for 3 days, just completely avoided her. And she was so, like, embarrassed. And she finally confronted him and was like, hey, I don't know what I did wrong, but why have you been avoiding me? And then I got into that whole thing. He told me about his fiance, and I told him about why I left Hobart, how my journey was going, why I was so distracted by Bramblethorn Whisper, what I wanted to achieve, what I was going to change about myself to make myself achieve those things. And I was looking forward to that moment for such a long time that when it finally happened, there was so much relief. So I had been planning on that conversation with Tristan for, in real life, a month, because we ended up, the first session that I wanted to do it just didn't make sense. And then we had 2 weeks off for some reason or another. Like, we just ended up canceling for 2 weeks in a row, or maybe just Don wasn't able to show up for 1 or 2 of those weeks. But I was thinking about this moment in my head and practicing it every single Monday for a month, because I kept thinking it was going to happen and then it didn't. And then finally I was able to make it happen, and I was really happy with how it all came out. And Don went along perfectly with it. We kind of talked about it beforehand, and we made a plan to find his fiance and then go to the Feywild, and we did half of that. So yeah, that was my favorite collaborative moment. Don, also, I just want to say, for kind of the relationship between Tristan and Clover, just because this is a collaborative thing, Don's been, like, so fucking respectful. Like, every session, he's like, hey, are you still good with this? Are you okay with this? Let me know if this is too much. And it's been a really good teamwork thing. My words aren't wording right now, but the collaboration is there.
Of a man who respects a woman.
And you got either of you have a story that you're ready to tell?
Yeah, I got one.
Okay.
It actually is in episode 21. I had quoted it to you guys earlier today, because episode 21 has a lot of quotable moments. Whisper had run away, and we chased after her naturally. And when we catch up to her, and she's like sheepishly getting back on the cart that I'm waiting on, she looks at me and goes, "Can I have some food?" And I turn around and I think, you think just because you run away, because you abandon us, because you decide you're no longer going to have us with you, that suddenly you could just come back, expect food and love and compassion and forgiveness? She starts to get defensive and say, "I did it for you," when I cut her off and I said, "Because that is exactly right." And I hand her a package with her name on it, with food already prepared that I had made earlier. Because, like, as much as I was upset she had run away, like, it felt really good to express that, but it also felt important to remind her that that doesn't matter. What matters is that we're together now, and we will always come after you, and we will always be together as long as we can. And as long as it's, genuinely not something you are doing because you need to, and like going off on your own was a bad idea. And we had to come after you. So
What about you, Cece?
I love you, you idiot.
It's hard to think of like collaborative things that I've done with other PCs, because like I guess one of my favorites is just like the entirety of Gormrog and Fennec's relationship, because I mean Gormrog basically established it from the very beginning that he's like you're gonna be okay, we're here for you, and like Fennec sort of taken that and held on to that because she's like, I have a place in this group, these people like care, and like Taz said about Dawn, Dom has been completely respectful and is always like checking in like, hey, is this okay? And like honestly, just like the slow burn of this entire like relationship between the two of them.
Intentionally drawing it out as long as I can. It's been 66 episodes and still like haven't gone on a date.
We've been busy.
But I've got ideas.
To be fair, I don't think you really courted her until like session 3.
All right. So, picking up with episode 13, the now officially named Fists of Fate, return to the sewers, and the hideout that they've kind of established is probably where the Myriad is operating out of. They meet up with some class members that have been set up to that location, and also Golesh makes his way, and you all begin to set up a trap. You find out through a little bit of investigation that a group of Myriad reinforcements is on their way to Western, and they're about 10 days out. It's at this point that Redep, a owlbear, and a half-orc make their way into the location, and a battle ensues, eventually with the death of Redep and the owlbear, though the half-orc is able to escape.
So I'm mad about this.
And that's pretty much the end of episode 13. Picking up on episode 14, we chop up Redep.
Oh god.
There was an owlbear right there.
Yeah.
And we chose the frogman.
It was
never tried frogs
pure anger.
You head back to the Lord Mayor's mansion and eventually make a deal to go ahead and intercept the reinforcements for more gold and also a residence in Western. As you take the Redep body parts back to your residence, you make a Redep stew and clean up the house.
Frog legs.
Frog legs.
Whisper gets another lesson in cooking, and you just pretty much spend the evening having discussions amongst one another and growing that bond together. In the morning, you hear a town crier claiming that the Myriad was defeated by retrievers, irritating most of you, that you are not getting credit. And at this point that you go to the Kobold Reserve, speak with the head expositor, Cressida Holt, where she tells Gormrog, after explaining all of the things you've been up to, that he will be able to take his expositor test when he finishes this mission and returns back home.
I'm so excited, you guys. I get to take my test. As soon as we're done.
As soon as we're done.
Episode 15. We have an intro video, finally. Like a year and a half into the show.
Speaking of, something we need to do for QPD.
Yes.
I have a really cool idea.
You begin setting up
Later.
you begin setting up your new residence, planting various vegetables, setting up chicken coops and the like, getting all that set up for what will eventually be your permanent residence in Western. Clover has another conversation with the clasp in private. And the Lord Mayor tells you that there will be a celebration in honor of your victory once the reinforcements from the Myriad are dispatched. There's also a representative from Lyringorn that currently at the Lord Mayor's house, and you're told that the new Queen of Lyringorn may have a job for a band of mercenaries in helping track down the killer of the previous queen.
Sounds good.
Episode 16 picks up with a plan set with the clasp to intercept the Myriad on the road. As you all kind of are hunkering down, forest spirits interact with Tristan and Whisper, seemingly drawn to them in their wild magic, nature-y magic selves. And Whisper is able to get a boon from one of the spirits in this moment. Conversations of backstory, including Whisper getting her club and Tristan coming into the Rivermore tribe, are had. Eventually, the trap is set against the Myriad and killing all of them except for one, in which you learn of a cave being used to set up operations outside of Western that comes to be known, or that is known by Tristan and Gormrug as the Butthole Cave.
Butthole Cave.
Butthole Cave.
Seeing Myriad members kind of in the entrance, Whisper pulling out the bomb she had taken off Redep's corpse, throws it into the entrance, destroying those two and launching the attack against them. And that is where we end episode 16 and my bit of recap.
Joe.
Do we have time to take a 5-minute break?
Yeah, sure. I suppose.
If we keep
Just
it
take
at
it-
5
The
minutes?
halfway point. We can take
Yeah.
the plot. We can take a little break.
All right, we'll take a quick 5-minute break. We'll be back in a couple seconds, everyone. We got a lot to get through, not a lot of time, so we will be right back. Love you, geeks. we're back. Hey, Vagrant Slice, thank you for joining us. We are just about halfway through. Actually, I think we're about to finish up the end of Act 2, Explosive Enemies, the Myriad arc.
Pew, 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 pew.
All right, Dom, you're up.
Oh yeah, that's me. So episode 17 kicks off with a bang. Haha. Because
Got him.
we threw explosions into the butthole cave. And we run into a point where we're not sure what's going on, who's where, what's happening. And Phoenix like, let me do my mind reading shit. And she goes and reads everybody's mind, and she realizes there's an extra one. We're like, what the fuck do you mean? She's like, there's somebody else is out here. What do you mean out here? Like outside of the cave, there's somebody else here. What the fuck? And then Tristan goes and checks it out and runs into a drow. And we learn that this drow is a member of the Kreen dynasty named Polaris. And he is here to hunt down the Myriad.
Real quick.
I love Polaris.
Polaris, played by the amazing Hector, who has joined us for
Yes.
several episodes. Thank you so much again, Hector, for joining us. And I'm sure we'll see Polaris again in the future.
I hope so.
Yeah.
So with Polaris's help, we dive into Butthole Cave head first, and we loot the room for stuff and things, and then we charge to the back of the room where we encounter two more guys before a locked door, or it's not locked, but it's trapped. But Clover listens in, hears the orc we've been chasing, and another feminine voice. And with some skills and tricks, we managed to get into the room and confront the orc and a drider, which is a large spider with a woman top half on top of the spider. Gross. And battle ensues. She tries to do some mind trickery stuff. We kill her, as we do. And then we come across a large sarcophagus in the back of the room, which has a shard of a sword, which is a sort of Vanta black blade with smoke coming out of the broken tip. And we take that and run. That's the end of episode 17.
And that also brings an end to Act 2.
I think we got a couple more episodes first.
Really?
Yeah, let's
Okay.
just run through it.
All right.
Because what do you consider the start of Act 3?
Well, I guess when Bellin is introduced. I mean, the next episode
Okay,
is
so-
where Bellin's introduced, so.
Yeah, next episode we head back to
Hold
Westfield.
on. I gotta pop the graphic, okay? I need graphics for
Oh.
everything. As we enter into
Ooh.
Arc
Hey,
3,
yo.
The Devil in Lyringorn. Okay.
Okay. You're so cute. I love it.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, it's a little late. I was trying to do a bad face, like as soon as it ended. It's there. Okay. All right. Bye.
Episode 18. Clover's sister Aster comes to visit us, and her wonderful self, and we also run into a council of city representatives, including Citron Kenshin, Lord Commander of the Platinum Guard of Vasselheim, Belen Lilaru, the first rider of Lyringorn, Ashizi the Ashari, Captain Trigar, spelled Chrigar, but pronounced trigger, like the gun, because he is a rifleman captain. And a lot of political discourse about the different goings-ons of the Myriad and what have you. We are introduced to the council as the heroes who have saved the town, and we are told, you have some time, feel free to unwind a bit, but do come back because we are going to have a very big citywide announcement. We take Polaris back to Marie Lynn's, where we introduce him to Marie Lynn, who is a drow, and Rosalind. And Polaris is immediately swept up in, oh my god, another drow. Holy, this is insane. How do you live among non-drow? This is unheard of to me. And then gets a little preachy about the Luxon, but he's cute. We can forgive it. And then while outside, a little girl in a wide brim hat meets Whisper and is like, hey, I can't find my dad. Can I stay with you for a bit? And she's like, yeah, here's Jimmy Jim. I'm gonna go inside. Bye. At which point, we go inside, and by the time we come back out, Jimmy Jim is all by his lonesome, and the little girl is gone. Episode 19. We return to the Lord Mayor, and through a portal that opens up in a large tree, Vox Machina appears, which was mind-blowing. Who was it? Krog and Pike immediately bugger off. They're just like, hey, we're here, bite.
Celebration.
Whereas Percy and Vex and the voice of the Tempest stay and have discussions with the rest of the council. The Lord Mayor makes a public announcement that it was not the Ravagers, but the Fists of Fate that stopped the Myriad. It's us. And we are to be viewed as the heroes we are. There is a city-wide festival thrown. And while we're on stage being introduced, a blue teal bird appears in a tree. Whisper and Tristan remember it, and Clover knows it from before her first memory. The first rider of Larringorn grabs Whisper. Whisper retaliates and attacks. A scuffle ensues. We part ways. And when deciding what to do next, we decide we should take the new blade to Pike and see if she can identify it. Because turns out Finnick just happens to know Pike.
She was born and raised in Vesselheim, so
Yeah, that's cool.
And in Hobart Quarry, we have a road named after Pike. It's called the Turnpike. Haha. It was funnier the first time.
Part of me just thinks Hobart County is just Jersey.
It's probably, if we were to put it, sorry, we don't have a lot of time. Talk about it later.
So Pike does some spell, and Finnick reads her mind. They get a vision of the previous owners of the blade. So the Nox blade previously had been held by the Drider, and before the Drider, it was held by a champion as some bigger sword, and before that, it was broken into 6 different swords. And before that, and before that, and before that, and before that, we went all the way back to the beginning. Joe, you're shaking your head. Did I?
No, I'm shaking
No,
my head at
Taz just put
Taz.
something in chat.
Oh. I'm not reading the chat. Should Polaris show back up on the night that Gorm and Finn finally get their date? Yes or no? Oh boy. No. But to that point, Polaris disappears. Which is surprising because Polaris was supposed to be Gormrog's date to the festival. And Gormrog got stood up. There was a note slipped into Gormrog's pocket saying, "You still owe me a date, but I had to leave because safety reasons." But we've seen neither hide nor hair of them since. The Fists of Fate went on to enjoy competitions such as arm wrestling, in which Finnick bested Grog's Strongjaw in an arm wrestling match, and flower crown making, in which Finnick, Whisper, and Clover all decimated the other children that were participating in the competition.
Just get good.
Fucking nerd.
Both competitions had some magical influence aiding some individuals,
Don't worry
but that
about
had nothing to do with their victories.
it.
Bellin accuses Whisper publicly of killing their aunt, where it comes to a head that Bellin and Whisper are actually siblings, which, to Clover's point,
Not such an only
was
child now, are you, Whisper?
right. What happened? And then we get some backstory about how Whisper's aunt was the queen of Larringorn, and when Whisper left Larringorn, she was still alive, but now she's dead. And it's not Whisper's fault. But Bellin is accusing her publicly of murdering the queen and has decided that she must be the one to pay. Episode 20. We returned back to our house in Westrune, and while Clover and Whisper are asleep in the bunk beds in Clover's room, we are attacked. The little girl appears once more in the room and says that Whisper needs to come with her, and pulls out a rifle. Points it at their head. Frigar, the rifleman, is outside sniping us from a distance. They blow a hole in the wall of Clover's bedroom, destroying her desk, her bed, all of her decorations, shredding her notebook. It's all gone in an instant, and Clover is devastated. Finnick and Tristan were away from the house at the time this started. They did not get to join right away. We are advised that the full moon is very bright this evening. That is a point we need to know. The full moon, guys. The full moon is bright. Did I mention that the full moon is bright? The full moon is very bright this evening. It's a weird thing to bring up, but all right. It's not a weird thing. It's actually important. As we are engaged with the two riflemen, a wyvern appears on the skyline, and it turns out Bellin is joining the fray, but not in our favor. Whisper winds up falling unconscious. The bounty hunter Trigar starts running away. The little girl was not so lucky. Gormrog and Tristan start chasing the bounty hunter this way. Finnick intercepts this way. Gormrog doubles back to protect Whisper, winds up punching the wyvern and stunning it. Gormrog drops to 0 hit points, comes back up to 1. The bounty hunter actually gets away. Finnick finally arrives. Gormrog knocks Bellin prone. Clover heals Whisper and then shoots Bellin. Whisper gets up, wild shapes into a giant rat. The wyvern knocks Gormrog unconscious, tries and fails to eat Clover because she's put up a magical shield. Bellin knocks her back down to knocks Whisper back down to and says, "Dale wants to see you." And knocks Whisper unconscious. Tristan slices into him, and we see silvery tendrils come and stitch Bellin back together. Clover gets the final blow on Bellin.
Pow, pow, pow.
But she decided it's going to be non-lethal because we're going to tie him up and we're going to ask him some questions because he's got a lot to answer for.
I would have loved to kill him, but it seemed like nobody wanted me to, so.
Honestly, at that point, I kind of would have let you, but Finnick heals Gormrog. Gormrog gives a potion to Whisper. But we're still in initiative, and it's a little strange. Until we realize Bellin heals again. He hops on his wyvern and runs. Whisper calls down lightning from the sky, kills Bellin again, but the wyvern catches him in his mouth and continues to fly away. Finnick goes catatonic. Clover reaches out to somebody in secret. Gormrog and Tristan have a moment to talk with Finnick and kind of bring her back. And Tristan helps clean up the body and the guns.
Does Tristan still have the guns?
I don't know. I think he may have sold them. But episode 21.
Wait. Like I know we're kind of limited on time, but because I guess we talked about Clover having her secret meeting earlier on. Finnick that night actually went to go talk to Citron and Pike, and that's why she wasn't at the house.
Do you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, because like all this shit was starting to kind of get to her, and also because she noticed like we didn't have a healer essentially. That's the episode where I kind of decided to multi-class Finnick into Paladin, because it both meshed with her backstory, but then also provided the healing aspect of it. And so she went to she talked about her family and what they were actually doing with Citron and Pike, and she asked Citron to help train her in the way of the Platinum Dragon. So that's when
That's really cool.
That's when I got that ball. That's when I got that ball rolling. So
40 episodes ago.
Yeah.
Woof.
And I just took my oath.
Yeah.
Come so far.
So, moving forward?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. Episode 21, Lyndon and the Shields, the guard of Westruun, check in on us, and we essentially file a police report with them. Aster shows up on a flying staff and offers to stay with us. Finnick mends the furniture in the journal, and we all talk for a long while. In the middle of the night, Whisper and Finnick being asleep in Whisper's room, Whisper decides, I need Finnick's bag of holding, but it's not in my room.
Right.
She sneaks into Finnick's room, finds the bag of holding, pulls out the Nox blade, the black blade with the smoke coming out of it, and then she runs away. We wake up the next day to find her gone. And in the sky is written a message to Bellin saying that Whisper's coming for him. And Finnick reaches out psychically to Whisper and says, "Come home, please. You don't have to do this on your own." And Whisper refuses. She says, "No, I'm gonna go, but if it gets too hard, I'll run away and I'll come back. It's fine. Everything's fine. Don't follow me." Whisper meets up with Talon in the middle of the forest outside of the city. And we follow her. Because, of course we do. We're not going to leave her on her own. That's stupid.
This is where I wish Jem was here. Because what would happen if we didn't follow Whisper?
So, me and her had these conversations pretty in depth during this time. There was talk of either making a new character for a bit, depending on if you guys chased after her or not, like, and she was able to get away, or her just not being around for a few episodes, until you were able to eventually get to Lyrangorn and whatever would have happened there. So, yeah.
So, Joe, did you know that Whisper was gonna steal the Nox blade?
Nope.
Did that fuck things up for you?
No, because I didn't have any, like, set intentions with
I'm
it.
just wondering because when you think about it, the Nox blade is such like an intense and important tool, and it was originally supposed to affect Finnick. So
Well, because Finnick
Wanted
eventually wanted to
Yeah.
attune to the Nox blade, but Whisper took it before she got the chance.
Yeah, I know Jem said she had felt bad about having to do that, but she's like, the Whisper would want to steal, doesn't know what it is, thinks it's this massively
totally.
powerful artifact, and she's going to go face her sister by herself. She's like,
Whisper would definitely do that. I was just wondering if you had to like change things around in your story because of it.
I mean, I think there was enough hints that Finnick wanted it, so I was kind of preparing to go down that road with Finnick. But then when Whisper stole it, it was, I mean, it didn't
Just
really,
a little-
yeah, it just,
Okay, well, now I'm nosy. What would have happened if Finnick
Well,
was the one to attune to
the
it?
same issues you would have had to deal with Nox and
Okay.
all the influence he exhibits on you, because I mean, as you'll see in the as the Nox blade affects Whisper more and more, she was becoming more and more murderous throughout the story,
Yeah,
and that would have been something that Finnick would have had to deal with instead, and then add your Finnick's PTSD on top of that. It would have been an interesting dynamic
Honestly,
between the
it
two
would
of
have
them.
been too much. Too much. You got a lot going on.
It's fine.
So on the road, Whisper and Talon get attacked by, oh goodness, I forgot what they're called.
Displacer
the
beasts.
long-armed.
Things.
No.
Displacer beasts.
They weren't displacer beasts.
No, they were still aberrations, but they were like green and they had like those suction cup hands.
Oh,
Arms and suction cup hands. Yeah.
Grimlocks?
No, they were like
Grapple?
reachers, graspers,
Graspers? Ropers? No, not ropers.
I don't know.
Either way.
Reachers, something like that.
Yeah.
Something to do with reaching out and grabbing you and like killing you. But they were aberrations, to be sure. But they narrowly survive and they stop, make a lean-to and take a rest. The rest of us find our way down. We see a small path off to the side and we call out for Talon. Talon and Whisper hide, but Clover, being the perceptive individual that she is, spots Whisper, and kind of sneaks up to her like this, goes right in front of her. Whisper, where are you? This is really cute.
That's one of my favorite moments.
Yeah,
Because
it
it was
was
so
pretty good.
dumb. It was so dumb.
I liked it a lot.
I loved it.
So, like I mentioned before, we take her back. There's a lot of emotions. And we decide to continue on together. We will go to Larengorn. We will figure out what happened to the queen, and we will put an end to it, if need be. And while on our way there, Whisper's sister, Dale, appears in our cart, taunting us. We scream, we yell, we shout, to no avail. We attack, nothing hits. And it occurs to us that she's not really there. It was an illusion. And after a while, she leaves us to our own devices, and we finish her. We continue on our way. Whisper makes a point to say, we need to check in on Nugget, Farm, and Raven, her 3 chickens back at the house. To which Aster promised she would take care of them. And then Tristan and Clover have a really beautiful moment together where they each play Tristan's flute. Go ahead, Taz. It looks like you want to say something.
Oh, I was gonna bring up, because you guys talked about your first moment. We already passed it, but the session that Polaris left, Polaris bought all of us gemstone jewelry before he left, and Tristan bought Clover an orange headscarf, and that was the first little moment.
Thread?
Yeah.
The first thread.
That was the first thread.
First little knot in the thread. It's woven together. Finnick and Whisper take time to bond over fleeing home due to family. And Finnick has another nightmare. This time it has all of us and Bellin and the Dawnfather. There are a few conversations that happen to boost Finnick and Whisper's mood. And Whisper says, wait, what about Gormrog's test? Everybody else is just like, I don't know, you should ask him. And she goes, nah, he'll bring it up.
I guess I have one note about that nightmare, because that one really like fucked with both me and Finnick, because she's had the same recurring nightmares before, and that was the first time that it was different, because she felt so guilty about not being there the night the house was attacked. I just want to credit Joe on that one, because that one was just like, I need to get like
Being
serious
devastating,
about
buddy.
this. No, but I just want to give credit to that, because like the nightmares changing really, it did affect on how she was going about her path. So
Well, that takes us into episode 22, where we arrive at Joran Village. And the first thing we see when we get there is a wanted poster for Whisper.
Right.
It does have longer hair and the other name, Lebiel.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Which in Elven translates to fifth.
Yes.
We make note of the Shade Watch, which is the town guard there, and they disguise Whisper so that she is unrecognizable. Among other things, we find the inn has the Shade Grass drink, where magic users get a boost. We hear rumors of a sword in the destroyed portion of the forest. We spend a lot of time shopping, including at an alchemist shop where the small gnomish man has his eyebrows singed off. Very kooky character. I liked him a lot. And then we were just hanging out, and we heard rumors that Lyringorn is getting weird, quote unquote. And we were like, what does that mean, getting weird? I don't know, it's getting weird. You know what I mean? No. Well, I don't know what to tell you. Okay. Thanks. Helps. Bye. While at the inn, listening to the music, Clover is dancing with a small group of halflings and getting some rumors. She dances for the entire segment where this is happening and earns herself a point of inspiration for that. Whisper sees a criminal who also has a wanted poster at the entrance to the town. But he's also a kind of familiar elf. But he sees through Whisper's disguise. But Whisper knows him from before. Who is this guy? He says he helped her escape previously. And when Tristan goes to defend her, he says, "Oh, and here's Tristan. I've helped him escape before too."
What's up?
Uh-huh. He mentions that he has a knack for escaping and finds himself often in situations where he needs to. They leave him to his own devices, and we lose sight of him. A young halfling man dances with Clover for a moment, maybe two, and then disappears. And at the proclamation of "guys suck," she realizes he slipped a blue feather into her hair, much like the one that Whisper has, much like the one that the blue teal bird that we saw at the celebration had, much like the bird that Tristan saw when he was imprisoned long ago had. Strange. But we decide to continue north, and on the road, we are ambushed by a bunch of goblins in ghillie suits. Episode 23 starts the first half with a dream sequence, a battle royale between the Fists of Fate. Clover is the victor. We take a break, and when we come back, we are back at the goblin encounter. One of them transforms into a Barghest, a sort of lycanthropic form, but not quite. We wind up taking them all out. We take turns during the watch. Tristan and Gormrog, Finnick and Whisper, Clover and Tristan again. Tristan didn't sleep at all that night. Finnick has another dream, in which she's told, "You will never be enough." Whisper has a dream. Her sister repeatedly calling her little fifth. She's cruel. There are rocks that fall, but nobody dies this time. And there's a god? I don't know, but they're nice. The bird appears again, the blue teal bird, and transforms. This time into an individual with silver hair, a long wand with a blue glow. That's all the notes I got on 23. So, Joe, would you mind elaborating a little more on that silver-haired individual?
No, I cannot do that because that person is not done having their story told yet.
Funable. Okay. We spend another day or two in the Umbra Hills before the super dangerous mountains. Tristan agrees to train Finnick because she had been asking about learning to hone her skills, be a better fighter, use swords, perhaps even armor. We have travel talks about family, goals, plans. Tristan wants to settle down and have a family. Clover wants to find her family and figure out why she's so rabbit-ish. Whisper just wants adventure. Finnick mentions a lot of traveling in the past. And Gormrog... We don't have time to get to Gormrog because 3 quadrupedal figures stalk us, and we notice them in the distance. Creatures on 4 legs, for those who don't know what quadrupedal means. We make camp and watch the wolf things. Tristan wakes Gormrog up. Whisper dreams of her acid-burned sister, which turns out is her fault. But a magic attack wakes her up. The magic from her sister. Gormrog goes back to bed. Finnick and Tristan talk about growing up. Tristan starts to tell about his past, but stops. He's still not ready. One of the figures comes closer. Black fur with a silver patch. Quills. A direwolf. We find out its name is Atreus. We give it food, and they leave in peace, satisfied with the offerings we've provided. Tristan and Finnick have another training montage, and travel continues. We head into the mountains. And here in my notes I have secret tunnel through the mountains. Secret tunnel. And we also find a buried treasure chest, but that's, whatever. It holds a gold and a scroll, a map of the Grey Valley with a location marked XTDS. Triss Drasig's sword seems most likely, because Triss Drasig is the individual who held a sword that has been lost in the area. So we take a little detour, a little side quest, a little skippity-doo-dah off to the side. It is a sea of gray, dead, petrified trees that are incredibly terrifying. And there are rumors of demons in the area. We make camp. There's more training. We enter a path, and we are attacked by a giant eagle. Not attacked. It guides us. It guides us to a sword. Twisted molten metal with a golden hilt. 2 ethereal knights in plate mail on either side. In the center of a large circle. A clearing. Of sorts. And that's for episode 24 ends. As does my turn in the recap.
Okay. I will say, one thing we forgot to mention was the caravan the Myriad had come in on was under.
Liger.
Yes, it was under a contract
It was-
from the Liger Lumber Company, which you came to find out
Yes.
was Tristan's
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 family.
family.
Last
Yeah.
name, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because his name is not Tristan Scaletorn, it is Tristan Liger.
Mhm.
A lot of people with different names who are in our party.
All right, Cece, you're up.
Yeah.
Carry us home.
I just want to apologize because I did not have time to go back and rewatch all of the episodes, and my notebook may or may not have gotten destroyed in the recent week. Because life sucks right now. But with episode 25, we start back up at that clearing. With the two ethereal knights in plate mail, they're both wearing symbols of the Dawnfather, I believe.
Yep.
So because Finnick is familiar with them, she decides to go up and talk to them. With Tristan like closely behind her, and she ends up taking the sword, but not before sort of an interrogation of like her morality and what she stands for, and also if she can even lift the sword. It took a few tries before she was able to properly swing it, but she then got the sword, which I now know that Joe had meant for Tristan to get.
I was gonna torture Donald with that sword.
Sorry, not sorry. But then it was a lot more travel throughout episode 25. Again, I apologize, I didn't do my homework.
I do want to say, sorry, this is just another Clover moment, but this is the first time Clover and Tristan sparred, but it wasn't just a training session. They were trying to see who was the better swordsman, and Clover won that fight, and I made a little doodle of it, and I keep it. It says on guard and rage, and I keep it right here behind me in every single session. That's all.
Yeah. Well, and then I also think that during, if I'm remembering correctly, that Clover also tried to help train Finnick along with Tristan
Yeah.
by offering her rapier at first, which was a lighter sword.
Mhm.
And then I thought that was a really cute moment of you being like,
Let me help
can help.
you. Clover took 3 or 4 years of fencing in school. So.
Yeah, that's true. And you told me that too. Episode 26, we are continuing to travel north. And there was a hunched figure in the road, who was an old man named Leo, who requested our assistance in clearing the path back to his home. And so we helped, and he offered us some tea, and we hung out in his home for a while, and Clover created trick shots, bouncing small like balls or acorns off the walls to into cups. So Clover created trick shots.
Canon.
It's canon now.
Yep.
Also, while we were here, Clover was given a book of wisdom to help boost her wisdom score. And during this time, a storm is approaching us. I know Finnick goes outside to sort of watch the storm, and it's acting weird, and the lightning keeps getting closer and closer before it lands on the cliffside that Finnick's on and takes a humanoid form, in which she runs inside, and this like lightning elemental attacks, screaming, "Sword, the masters, give it back." We defeated the elemental, and we now know that Whisper has taken the Noxblade. Finnick, being hurt that her friend would steal from her, she had a drama queen moment. She had her drama queen moment.
It was valid.
Ran off to the top of the mountain that they were on and just lets out a frustrated scream. And this is also, I believe, the first time that we see Finnick's wings, the charred bones.
Not everybody saw that, though.
No, because Gormrog and Tristan ran up after her to make sure that she was okay. And Gormrog made it up there faster to see that. And they had a heart-to-heart moment about Finnick's fear of judgment and learning to heal from it, and sort of explaining the wing situation. And then they head back down. Overnight, Tristan keeps watch but doesn't see anything specific. While Gormrog is taking watch, he noticed Whisper's heart rate is slowed. Like, super slow, abnormally slowed. During Clover's watch, she rummages through the cave and reads her book. Also, a fun fact we found out about the book: once it's read, it cannot be read for another 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Interesting.
In the morning, the group agreed that Clover.
I will say I was a little upset about that.
What? Which part?
The book?
Can't be read for another 1,000 years. I'm just like, I also wanted that. And I was just like, yeah, she can have it first, but I kind of want it.
Now,
But then,
did Clover finish reading that book? Because we could totally read it. I did?
I'm pretty sure you did, and you got that +1 or +2, whatever it was.
I don't know if I ever added that to my wisdom score. I'm gonna have to figure out how to do that.
Yeah, I remember that that time period. I was just like, let it go, 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 let it go. Like, me personally, because I was like, I want that so bad.
Well,
but then, like, I got over it. It's cool. Because I was like,
oh yeah,
looking at the scores, and I'm just like, give it to Clover.
What's my wisdom roll bad? I haven't even used it, so you should be mad at me.
No, not mad. Just,
but well, Tristan,
just disappointed. No.
Donald was super jealous about the sword, and so was Tristan.
Yeah. I was jealous about the book, but
I think we all have little items out there that we're a little jealous of. Clover really wanted the life sword. But obviously the life sword and the Nox sword go together, so she could never have it, but she wanted it.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, how could we forget Tater Trot, guys? Our horse.
I did not forget. Tater Trot is the best of the best of the best, sir.
Yeah, Tater Trot's my favorite name. I would never forget Tater Trot.
Still alive, surprising for a horse in D&D.
Yeah.
Still alive.
Dude, in my other campaign, we've gone through like 4 horses. We have like a in memoriam section, like.
Remember my family game? We had a separate, like, we had all our character sheets on paper, like the old-fashioned way, and we had to have a separate page just to keep track of all the animals we had. Because we had like, I want to say something like 6 horses, 4 ox. We had a pet mastiff, a pet dragon, fucking a griffin, or a hippogriff, one of those. Like it was wild.
Yeah, I think everyone has a pet now except for Clover and Tristan.
And I don't want one. Y'all, I am terrible with pets and familiars in D&D. They always die. I don't want one. I'm gonna kill it.
Well, I guess Whisper has 2, so that'll make up for Clover, but
Well, technically 5. She's got 3 chickens, a pseudo dragon, and a griffin.
Talon.
Yeah.
Hopping back on track, but Tater Trot is still alive after the storm, so thank goodness.
I was so upset. Like, if you had killed my horse, I would have been so mad.
I always at least take at least one shot at the animal every time they're around for a fight.
That's awful. But Leo told us a shortcut to Lirangorn, and we see lights to the north. Lirangorn at night. When we get to Lirangorn, it is frozen, lifeless, like stonework. But just before Lirangorn, words are hard. Before Lirangorn, there's a valley surrounded by dense forests that are humid yet full of life. Lirangorn is an elven city, so beautiful elven designs and streets lined with natural elements.
Art Nouveau.
As we get into the city, there's no people around. We can hear mumbling coming from the buildings, and we find ourselves the Wandering Wyvern Inn. And just before we go inside, we see wyvern riders patrolling the sky. Finnick goes in and gets a room, and while also sort of speaking to the innkeeper, and the innkeeper said that the queen died, and suddenly everyone's all very exhausted. When Finnick sort of opens her mind up and tries to read people's thoughts, there's like an overlooming shadow in everyone's mind. And then we sneak everybody in to our room through the window. And we leveled up after that session.
Nice.
Bringing us to episode 27. During the night, Clover continues her reading, and Tristan is watching outside, and he sees sort of shadows moving and morphing throughout the streets. And then there's dream sequence. Gormrog has a dream of him and Polaris. Finnick dreams of fire and chaos, but also the new sword talking to her. And Whisper dreams of the forest and hearing her sister and asking what brings her here. Her sister in that dream is without her scars. Whisper turns animalistic, and the Fae from before is with her, saying that we can do this together. Flashback to Gormrog, where Polaris is trying to make an advance on Gormrog, and he refuses. Back to Finnick. She puts the blade against her mother's throat. and her mother insulting her, Finnick replies, "You're the reason I'm like this." And the blade is antagonizing Finnick, telling her to do it, in which Finnick does
Foreshadowing.
it. Yeah, looking back on it, that's some hella foreshadowing.
Good job.
But as Finnick kills her mom in this dream, her mother smiles and falls to the ground. And then the blade says, "Good job. I'm proud of you. Turn it on him," referring to her father. Flashback to Whisper. Where Whisper's sister gets closer to her, saying, "You could have it all. Just kill me." And continues to taunt Whisper. Back to Gormrog, where Gormrog goes to leave Polaris and then feels a stab in his back as he turns and sees Tristan, saying, "You think you're stronger than me?" Gormrog replies, "No, you've always been stronger. I can't survive without you." Tristan says, "Show me who you are," and Gormrog replies, "I will not fight you." Back to Finnick. Finnick sees her father pull out his sword, and I take a defensive stance. The blade itself continues to egg Finnick on, and without Finnick wanting it to happen, she kills her dad in her dream. And the blade says, "We can do this together. Anyone that is corrupt and evil." And Finnick stays quiet. Back to Whisper. Whisper is talking to the Fae, saying they haven't worked out any terms of a deal yet for his help. And she leaves, knowing that this is a dream. But her sister tries to stop her. And then we wake up, and everyone is looking outside to see the shadows move once again, as Finnick, I believe this is when she uses her divine sense for the first time.
Yep.
Detects fiends nearby. We spend some time in the inn, and then also do some asking around. That nightmare started a week after the queen died. Empress Dale is now on the throne. But Rodin was first in line. So, if I'm remembering correctly, Whisper's oldest brother?
Yes. Rodin is the eldest child and first in line for the throne because the original queen had no children of her own.
Gotcha. And then we also try to find people that we can use as sort of excuses for why we're in Larengorn. Evelyn Moon Whisperer. I do not remember anything about her because we never really got to that. But she was
Sky Surfer.
Wait.
Yeah,
We have Whisper. We have Evelyn Moon Whisperer. We have Bramble Thorn Whisperer.
All
Is this
right,
intentional,
give me a break.
Joe?
No. Fuck you. Evelyn is a wood elf, sky swimmer, and member of the prestigious Moonweaver's Ribbon team. She's a skilled wyvernback rider and is known for her grace and agility in the air. She's often seen practicing in the skies above Larengorn.
Cool. We did a lot in episode 27. We asked around, and the best place to find gossip was the Gilded Lily. We bought some potions. We found out that the 3 youngest siblings haven't been seen or heard from.
Oh yeah, because it turns out the potion lady was a bigger gossip than anybody in the tavern.
Yeah. I love town gossips. She believes the Empress made a deal for her power, and that she spends time in the castle and the Moonflower Cave, where the slain moon dragon blood blossomed flowers, and they've been digging in that cave for the past month. We found out that the moon dragon ruled over the elven people around the Calamity and was slain by Whisper's ancestors. No bones have been seen, but there's rumors that the phases of the moon help bloom the moonflowers in that cave.
I will also bring up that Whisper had gotten some moonflower petals during while in Western during your first shopping episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, there's so much we've forgotten about.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If only we had a recap episode where we all watch some episodes and then tell each other about it to remind each other how this would
We should do this
all
every
happen.
year.
Mhm.
We think that Belen's healing and his moon-like eyes might be related. We know the palace is to the north. Whisper tells us there's it's elevated into part of the mountain, and there's a cave off to the side, but the path is only accessible from inside the castle walls. And we begin to plan. While we're walking, we see a ton of these sky dancers and wyvern guards. And we decide to go into the Moonstone Grove, or Moongrove Forest? Grove? Same thing?
There's the Moonstone Grove, yes.
Where we meet High Priestess Erwin, and this is the Temple of the Moonweaver. And Tristan introduces himself, and that's where we end episode 27. And then episode 28, so Tristan asks some questions, especially regarding his condition, his curse. When Clover notices a squirrel running up to a pile of leaves, and a head pops out of the pile of leaves, and we get Quell,
Wow.
the Eladrin cleric, the right hand of Melora.
Played by
Adam, the most amazing D&D player you've ever played with. Also, my fiance, who played with us. Woo! I don't know what to say.
We love him very much.
Yes, and our
Yes,
second
we do.
guest.
Right.
We can't wait for him to guest again.
Yes.
Yes, I miss Quell and I miss Adam. So when we first meet him, he's in his autumn Eladrin self. Oh, and the squirrel's name is Bernie, by the way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's old man names.
Quell says that he was sent to help us, and that Melora doesn't make mistakes. And then Quell starts to flirt with Gormrog.
With me?
Tristan doesn't trust Quell at all, but he hesitates to ask questions. With an insight check, Quell seems very trusting and trustworthy. Inside the grove, we see the Moontree altar, and we find out that Tristan is cursed. And if it's not fixed or reversed, he will become something else. And whatever that something else is not good at all. But the people at the Grove are willing to try to help. In the meantime, Gormrog is questioning Quell, but he seems cool with whatever we need to do. And then we plan. We find out Quell is a farmer and a part-time healer, and he was sent because clearly that's what we were lacking. Just trying to read. We eventually come to learn that the priests in Lyrangorn are spread thin to help the populace. And also discover that since Lyrangorn's founding, the royal family needs the Moonweaver's blessing, but Dale hasn't allowed any priests or priestesses into the castle. We find the blacksmith and ask him questions about the excavations regarding the Moonflower Cave. And he gave us some rumors. But at this point, we're
blacksmith
back at
that Clover stole the wings from.
Torin Stoneshield?
Like the wing armor.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The Lauren Stonehammer, yeah. And there was Hjalmar Frostbeard.
Hjalmar.
Joe, I have trouble remembering my own name at times.
That's why I'm clarifying.
Your name is John Jacob Jinglehammer Schmidt.
No.
We return to the inn, and we get to know Quell a bit, and we find out that he's from the Feywild. And then also, during this time, Torin tells us more about the cave and the lack of guards and the lack of the miners. And Finnick's sword tells her to kill him because he's corrupt. We give him some gold for his time, and we leave to go get Finnick some armor. But before we're able to get there, we're attacked by winged demon women. We love that.
Mm-hmm.
So combat ensues. One of them gets charmed by Whisper, and one of them gets charmed by Quell, and we manage to interrogate them. And they basically told us that they were here because of a deal that was made.
Didn't we just hear something about a deal being made for power?
Yeah, but this essentially confirmed it.
Yep. Almost like it was laid there for us to find.
And then we killed the 2 that were charmed and left. And that brings us to episode 29.
Hold on real quick. I think we have to let Taz go for the evening.
Yeah, I was just typing to you that I just don't want to miss session 32 because that's such a big one for Clover.
Can you hammer through these, Cece?
No, I'm not gonna make her
not
hammer through. I have
not
to. I have to
quickly.
leave.
All right.
I have to leave, but
All right.
but if you want to save 32 for Monday,
Yeah,
or I'll just
we'll leave off on 31 and we'll jump on 32 next week.
because the end is when Clover finds out what she is. But I have to go.
Actually, I think we could probably call it here. Honestly, I think we can leave the rest of this for next week as we finish off this recap. Because we're not going to be able to finish this arc anyways, so. Everyone cool with that?
Yeah.
I'd be okay
I
with
mean,
that.
it was pretty
Yeah.
ambitious to try and recap 32 episodes in 3 hours.
It's been tight. It's been tight.
And also, honestly, like, I'm using the shared notes document that literally ends after episode 32. So.
All right. Well, that's going to end it for us tonight. Catch us next week where we finish off our recap of the story so far. And this Thursday, I get to interview Vander, the Wanderer, on investigation check at
Vargas?
Yes, Fargus.
Yes, Fargus.
Vander's my other DM. Sorry, Fargus the Wanderer. As we check out his backstory and all the things he's got going on. I've got nothing else. If you guys got nothing else,
Next week we also have QPD.
yes, and we will tell you
Clear and
everything we got.
present danger.
Danger.
Everything we got going on next week on Monday. Remember,
Join our Discord if you want schedule updates.
yes, check out Discord, check out our Instagram and all that stuff because we post stuff on there. There's our Discord channel again. We're gonna head out. We love you, geeks.
Stay tuned for the raid.
Good night.
Good night.